Hi, I'm Jon Burgess. I'm a co-founder of RedFusion Media. We are a strategic marketing consulting firm and have been doing business under that name for almost 20 years now. Our focus for most of that time had been on digital marketing and digital media, but we're really a traditional marketing company that has roots back 30 years in relationship marketing. And so this is our promised first kind of run at a podcast slash video cast talking about InlandEmpire.us, which is a site we run, RedFusion, and what we do, and really what's going on within the market. We want to talk specifically about small business and about how to grow your business. And so throughout these series, we'll be doing weekly podcasts and video presentations to talk about what is actually working and how does this all make sense to a small business owner and within the market. So quickly to set the stage, RedFusion Media has been marketing and building really what we call our strategic marketing plans through a marketing cycle. We've been using this for 20 years and we continue to refine it based on the fact that everything is always changing. We also are the publisher of InlandEmpire.us, and this is something that we've been doing for 15 years, and within the last 2 years we've turned this into a relationship management driven tool. And for the stories that we post here, we are getting the best PR. We're taking our partners' content and curating the best content we possibly can about the Inland Empire. And so I'm going to go through some of these things today. I'm going to talk about some of the happenings on the Inland Empire and some of the trends we see happening on the internet in a whole, and some of the things we have as tips for just anybody in the market to build websites and what is going on with Google and Google Search and Google News. So first off, we work really hard at making sure our Inland Empire content is found, and that's a combination of a number of issues and a number of tactics, and it comes together in a way that is kind of complicated at times. But what we really care about is finding news that is within the broad areas of business, education, workforce, economic development, and then community news. So we have some keywords based around the cities within the Inland Empire. And what we see is the value of a story, and then how can we leverage that. And so we leverage that with tying it together with other content, and we tie that together with Google News and with Twitter and some other things. So I'm going to kind of jump through that. And so first off, we are lucky in that we get all of these great stories pulled into Google News. You can find us on Google News at any time, and you can make your own sorts within Google News. So from a city point of view, Yucaipa, Redlands, Corona, you can see some of our stuff based on the city there. And within our Inland Empire sorts, I personally see more because I look at them a lot, but we find that all of our stories are being pulled if we've done it right. And so if that's something you use, we get a lot of stories in there. And within that, we then post content we feel is going to do the best for the area and for the market, and therefore there's a great amount of things in there that we know we can win at. So let's just kind of go through it and take a look at what we're up to. I went the wrong direction. We'll do this all live, and if I make bumps and bruises, oh well. So on our news, we have 2 to 5 stories we put up every day. They're either sent to us as PR from a PR agency or an internal PR person, or maybe a volunteer, or from the company themselves. We choose our content based on some quality measures, image being one of them. We have to have an image with it. We need to have about 250 words, and we need some pieces in there. Within that, we then post stuff. And so in the next week, some great stuff is going on that anybody in the Inland Empire might want to know about. We are going to have the Attorney General debate at UCR. The UCR School of Business just released their business activity for the Inland Empire. Great news there. University of Redlands is doing great, interesting, fun, innovative stuff with GIS. They have a whole school there for that. We have growth and wages. Valley College and Crafton College are helping drive that. And so we have a number of things that are educational, growth-oriented, news that we're trying to bring together. Biggest story that we ran this week is actually that we will have a new hotel in downtown Riverside, the Hilton Hotel. And one of the things I'll point out, and this is both a strategy and a tactic on how we work really hard to get stuff right. I have another video up, I'll link in the show notes on how we won on this specific page. We posted this after our weekly newsletter. Our weekly newsletter goes out at noon on every Wednesday, and you can see we are about relationships and we track everything. And this is a quick look at our back end and how we make sure that our tracking is working. And for this particular story, we were second to press because the city of Riverside actually did it. We had a little back and forth and got some better images, and then we posted it pretty much as a press release with the advantage that we have more content connected to economic development than a lot of people. And so we actually won on this. This came out after our newsletter. Our newsletter drives the most traffic of the week, and so this page got more traffic, and we had 5 new viewers of our 5 new subscribers to our newsletter. You could join our newsletter right here at Join Our Newsletter. And we use all of that to continue to pick stories and to create messages that work. And as you see, we are always trying to get our click-through rate and our open rate better than our own average. And so we're always just inching it up to a higher performing sort of product. And so if you sign up for our newsletter, I promise you we won't spam you. We'll continue to watch everybody's movement and give you the best content. And that's really where our website and what we've been doing is all about. And so I'm going to kind of take you through a couple of things we see in trends and how we do things. And anybody can do what we're doing. One is I showed you we have Google News and we're pulled there. Another is that we do fairly well on Twitter. Now, I always say things about Twitter and about social media that are contrary to colleagues in the market. They're contrary to popular beliefs, because what we have found with having 500 websites that we built, with running these highly detailed back of the website engines, that we see most of this stuff in terms of the success of social media as being a complete fabricated lie. We do not use Twitter to drive many hits, and we don't expect it to. But as you kind of go through and you see what we look at, you know, we go through and we pat people on the back and we give them a high five. So something like this, you see our business. Well, we'd be happy to retweet that. Riverside Chamber sounds good to me. Now let's retweet it. We make sure that anything that we're doing, I didn't actually retweet, I want to give them a real retweet. Valley College and their graduations. All of that is stuff about the Inland Empire that we want to make sure that we're pushing forward. And it's not so much about us. You'll find if you follow our Twitter feed that we have about half of it not being ours. And we're just passing it through. And we'll even retweet the paper's content because we don't have any journalists. But the reason we do that and why I continue to want to educate everybody about how Inland Empire and how RedFusion Media works, we do that about relationships. And so when we go to our notifications, we care about the people who come through and the people who are tweeting our content. And so quickly, we have a pretty important person from UCR. We have some CSUSB, University of Redlands. We have some PR people from the school districts. We have Valley College. We have the Chancellor of Valley College, the City of Fontana. We are doing things to make sure that we're treating everybody correctly and that we're kind of pushing their content forward. And we call it a pat on the back. There we go. You can see me there. We really want to push people forward that deserve it. We're trying to spread the news. And so we use Twitter as a way to make sure that we are finding relationships. And on the back end, we then make sure we treat those relationships correctly and treat them in a way that is honest and valuable and honorable. And one of the reasons we know that is again, the data. And so switching maybe midpoint to RedFusion content here, about a month ago, we posted this story about why we deleted all of our Facebook pages. And you can listen to that. You can read the story right on InlandEmpire.us. It's a broken relationship on the page view. And it's not from the one-to-one. You and I may be looking at each other and having a kind of back and forth. It's from the one-to-many. And so Facebook years ago told us that they would no longer allow a page to get you a lot of views, that you would have to go ahead and pay for that. And that's exactly what they've done, and they haven't really lied about that, and they haven't even tried to trick us. So what has happened is that none of our pages perform, and that's across many clients. Now, There are some specific segments you might still want to do it. I would say event-driven stuff and maybe some highly social stuff like a bar or a coffee shop. But you cannot really win unless you're in that very touchy-feely world. And so therefore you have to have one-to-one relationships. So the only thing I would say on this is, yes, Facebook is great when you have a one-to-one relationship. And same with Twitter and LinkedIn. When you try to use it as a one-to-many, then it just fails. And so we have found across our clients, across our website, and from InlandEmpire.us, it has been a waste of our time. And so that's one of the things that we will show you through the next months and years of doing these video podcasts, is that there are a million tactics in marketing and advertising, but very few of them work for you. And so as you run your organization, your website, your business, you have to at least put a finger in each one and make sure that, if the water's cold, you got to pull it out, or if the water's hot, you got to pull it out. You want to find that perfect mix between the type of content you have, the type of clients and target market you might have, and then what media you're using. And so one of them that we have just almost outlawed, and you will not find us on Facebook anymore, is Facebook pages. And so interesting that happened. I got a lot of interesting feedback from my friends and colleagues in the marketing and advertising world, and I had some great discussions among a few of them who are thinking I might be a little bit off my rocker, which is fine, because what we want to do through these series is show you the data and show you what's really going on and give you our point of view in our 20 plus years of doing this. So that's one of the big things we've done. I showed you here really quickly, this is our email tracking, but we track everything. And when we go to our actual RedFusion Marketing Cycle, which we have built over more than 20 years, it really has been a labor of love for us in terms of figuring out what is going on. We use a number of very specific tools within this strategy. For some of our clients, it takes 2 to 5 years to actually go all the way through it and rebuild it and learn from it and go through it. In the more recent history, we've been able to use our marketing tools, our inbound marketing tools, to really speed the process up. And so for most execution of marketing plans, we're in the content and channels area, and we might do some analyzation. But RedFusion Media is about relationships, and so all of our clients are really primarily relationship-driven companies. Most of them are B2B companies, and we only care about customers. We don't even care about your prospects. If we know what your customer's doing and we understand their value and their churn and their 80/20s, we're able to then compare you against the competition, create what we call competencies. What is your business and organization competent at? Then we move that back through and say, well, now how can we target and how do we position the company and product and service in the eyes of the consumer? In this case, we want to position in the eyes of the customer. And we are not a branding company, and so we don't have a branding piece around here. Branding is something we think is just too much about art and not enough about data. And so if we were to do branding, it would be after positioning and as we got into content. And our content then is the themes and the creation of print and video and radio and content for web. And then the channels are things like social media, website, you might be buying radio, and we analyze. So through that process, one of the things we have here is competition. And we track our competition on a lot of levels for us and for our clients. And so for Inland Empire, I've started telling people blatantly what's going on within the Inland Empire, because it's becoming really important. And with my consulting hat on, not my publishing hat, but my consulting hat on, says there is a limit to the amount of views you can get, period. We have Google, Facebook, YouTube, Yahoo, Bing, maybe, Amazon, stealing a huge amount of all of the traffic, and therefore an organization can only get so much. And so we use Alexa to track other people, and we've done that for a long time with us, with our clients, to figure out where we are. And for InlandEmpire.us, we're at about 1 millionth in the world, which is 286,000th in the US, and that has been very hard fought. We are very proud of it. I'm excited when I get this high. We're going to pass 1 million pretty soon. And in almost anything I'll ever say, I really don't care about the total views we get. This is the only place I can compare and contrast in kind of an apples to apples way. And so I use this tool not to see that I'm rah, me, I'm happy I'm winning. I use it to see if I'm going in the right direction and if the competition is changing. And so in October, we published our first version of kind of what are the independent news people in the Inland Empire and websites and things like that. and where they ranked. And at the bottom, you're in the 13 millionth, and to be honest, that means you're getting no traffic. And people like the Inland Empire magazine, who have the nicest, glossiest, top-end print magazine in the area by far, aren't doing very well online. And that's because their focus might not be there, and they're not really trying to do that. They create the best magazine, and so they've won the market there. But online, they're not doing as well as they could be. And so part of this is, I need to know I'm moving in the right direction. Part of it is I need to partner with people, and I want to partner with people to pull them up. And so when we started looking at this, and we look at the changes in it, and this is one we did just a few days ago, we looked at what are the changes, and we had a nice little bump up, and we keep moving towards under 1 million, which is going to be so cool for us. But you can see it's very volatile, and we have these big swings. And the more volatile it gets is kind of like, well, you went from maybe 13th millionth to 8th millionth. That doesn't mean much because it's only maybe a few hundred page views. And the part then that becomes concerning is that when we look at our totality of websites, all of them that we can control, and we have Google Analytics on them, if you're not building content faster than your competition, you are going backwards, and you are losing traffic month over month over month. I would say 75% of our old clients that aren't doing much are down year over year over year, and they're running out of space to crash into the ground because they're not too far from it. So we recently kind of updated this a little bit more so we'd have some numbers in there to make public, and within that we've added a few more in, like the radio stations, the EDAs, the county EDAs, the workforce investment boards, and things that we knew about so that we could start looking at how can we partner with people, because InlandEmpire.us is not totally about me or RedFusion. It really is about how do we properly place and position the Inland Empire among all of the other things in the world. And we believe the Inland Empire is awesome. I mean, we're the 13th largest economy in the nation, and we have a lot of great things going for us. We still have land, we have transportation, we have a lot of infrastructure. We don't have a media outlet that works very well. And so as I've climbed up and passed a lot of people with InlandEmpire.us, I'm approaching the big guys that are stock-owned companies. Now, I'm not as big as the Press Enterprise or the Sun, but I'm going in a direction to catch them eventually, and I'm going to watch that because there is only so much that can happen online, and I want to make sure in the business realm and education and workforce, I am winning. And so to put some numbers on this, because this is public knowledge, you can go to Alexa and find this. They will fluctuate every day, but in general, they're going to be pretty close. I went ahead and put in our data right here for RedFusion Media and another one of our clients. So I had some bullet points in the middle to show you. And unfortunately, this doesn't tell the best story. This tells a terrible story. RedFusion Media used to get about 5,000 to 6,000 page views a month when we really pushed it. That was 2 to 4 years ago, maybe. We're now at 2,500, and I would say we're in the top 5 marketing companies in the Inland Empire for search. And so the truth of that is I only need one good lead a month to come through there. So 2,500 is pretty much a waste. I just need 1 or 2 good views. But when we look at that, I'm 2.5 millionth in the world. My client is at 3 millionth in the world, and we know exactly the trends over many years. We have data on RedFusion for 15 years within Google at Analytics. And that means that all of the media companies below a marketing company, and that I've made it a little line to make this sort of sad, and I don't mean to poke fun at people, but if you're below that line and you're a media company, then you are getting less hits than 2,500 a month. And that means that some of our stakeholders, and I'll back it up one, the Inland Empire Economic Partnership, the IE Chamber, the Riverside Chamber, the Riverside EDA, I am getting more traffic from a marketing website than you are getting from your core business. And I want to partner with you guys and help you out. So this is not about saying, uh-oh, you haven't won. It's saying we can help you win, and we'd be more than happy to do it. But for some of those media companies in there, if they're selling you ads, let me tell you, they're selling you a big fat lie. So what does that mean in terms of, you cross that line? Well, what's the difference then if I'm at 2,500 and they're pushing 100, maybe 1,000 in there? What's a million difference? Well, a million difference, depending on where you're at, can be between 10 and 30 times the traffic. And as you cross over 1 million into, say, the 900,000s, every 100,000 could be 10 to 20 times the traffic. And so if you're in the top 50,000 in America, you are in the multi-millions of views per month. And so you see, that would make a really sharp curve. And I should put a little picture in there to show it. And so what then happens is there are the many websites, and then there are the few, and it becomes a J curve. And so that's where we're going to continue to work on it. And I honestly never want to really look at my daily traffic or my monthly traffic. I look at return visitors, I look at my growth of my subscriptions, and I look at my Twitter followers, to be honest. When I see that my Twitter account over here is growing, and I track this every month, I have a 2 years worth of tracking on this, I want to see that we gain natural, well-earned followers. And I'm going to treat them nicely, and I'm going to say thank you for coming. And if they're important, I'm going to share their stuff. Like right here. Here's another good one from the Ontario EDA. I think that's a great thing. Let's go ahead and retweet it. Let's share it with the world, because I'm trying to build something that is about a lot of us, not just about one of us. So that's one of the big things that we see going on. I'm going to go ahead and jump into one thing. And every time we do these, I want to go ahead and start pointing out some of our partners. And this week I chose Oak Valley College. Oak Valley College is super cool. They're new if you haven't heard about them. They're in Colton. They're a few years old. And the reason they're super cool is that they're trying to give you a bachelor's degree in 3 years. And the best part about it is they want to have you walk away from it debt-free. That means no student loans, no grants, no scholarships needed. You can actually make it through in 3 years without having to have a huge $50,000 debt. So I did highly encourage you to reach out to them if you were looking at that sort of path. It's kind of one of those part-time, straight-through kind of programs, an executive kind of arrangement. And you can find them on Oak Valley College and Google it, or you can find them off my website. They are enrolling people for the fall 2019 or 2018 school year. And so if you're looking for an alternative and looking to maybe do something different than community college or one of the more expensive private colleges, I just encourage you to take a look at them. The next thing I'm going to really jump into is kind of switching a little bit to what's going on online and what do we see happening. And so I mentioned a little bit about Facebook, why we're off of Facebook, why we don't see that as being important. And here's another one. And I have to thank Nathan Greenberg, who is one of our people in the Inland Empire who is making news, and he's part of the American Marketing Association on their board. And Nathan does a lot within certain markets like cars and lawyers, I know. And he has a marketing company. And what he showed on his Facebook page, and we're friends, is that Klout is going to shut down. And I use Klout a lot. I used to think it was pretty interesting. Klout was a place where you could kind of measure your socialness and your ranking among other social people and what would be considered influence. And so the influence of your content was what they were measuring. And so it was up and down and up and down. As you can see right now, my Inland Empire one is up and down and up and down. And it was very interesting. What I think we've missed, and it's part of why we got rid of our Facebook pages, is that Klout just doesn't matter. Your personal value within this whole spectrum is very little. If you want to know more about this, we have a paper on our website called The PIMS Principle, and you can download it. And it talks about you really only can have one major winner in any market. Then you might have a second and third competitor in there that are okay. Once you drop behind that, when you're not a leader in a market, you can't win. And the other people might break even, and they're swimming really hard to get to the top, but they're being pushed backwards. So it's always like the flow of water is against you and you're swimming upstream. The same goes with social media. You can only have so many Kardashians and so many Donald Trumps in the world that suck so much of the socialness out of things that they absolutely dominate and win. So therefore, if you're in the middle of the area, where here we are at 55, I guess I'm going to assume that's the middle, 53, that means we're neither here nor there. And so what we think of social media is a handshake, and therefore Klout is going out of business after being bought a few years ago for $200 million. So Nathan, thanks for pointing that out. I totally agree with you. They should go away. It's overdue. The next thing that happened this week that was very important to everybody in media and everybody who's doing digital media is that Google had their big yearly conference, and in that they talked about some very interesting things, from optimizing to automatic stuff to apparently they'll be able to write emails on your behalf, which is sort of scary. I wanted to point out something about AMP, and we've talked to our own clients about AMP for the past few years. AMP is a great way to bounce a little bit of value to your website. And what that is really a small little data set that allows your content to then be pulled by other people. That content is then put into a mobile sort of way, in a small little file, and it should render like really fast, under a second. So this is used by things like Google News, it's used by apps, and it's a way that your content should be pulled. If you have a WordPress site, it's easy to turn on. If you're outside of WordPress, you might find there's some big issues, but it's important enough to look at this, because if you are a content-driven company, if you're doing inbound marketing, it's becoming pretty important. So go ahead and do that. Now, I was looking for it, and I had another colleague of mine, Peter, talk to me about it this week. We had talked about SSLs and what is security on your website. We have told our own clients to do SSLs for a few years now. So I went back and found this older post. It's a few months old, but Google will start shaming your website, and they are doing this. By shaming, they're actually publicly saying you don't have a secure website. And an SSL, which is what gives you that little HTTPS, they cost between $20 and $50 now, when in years past they were $200 to $500. So it's not a cost issue anymore. But the SSL is basically taking you in the real world, here I am, and then connecting us to the website in a way that makes authority and expertise then become connected. So therefore, if you have an SSL, Google then thinks you're a real business. So you got to do it. You got to get it. If you don't have an SSL, ask your webmaster to get it today and get that moving. There are rumors that if you have an SSL, you're going to start getting penalties. And one of the things that we'll do, and I've done a few videos already on this, is really talking about the penalties within Google, things like bad neighborhoods. When you send out press releases in the wrong manner, you could end up in the wrong place. You could poison pill all of your news. So there are some definite penalties you have to watch out for, and we'll continue to point these out throughout these weekly kind of videos, whether they're RedFusion centric or Inland Empire centric. But that's just one of the biggest things we think needs to happen now. And so that's going to kind of end it for me. Again, you can find us at inlandempire.us. And you can find us at RedFusion Media. And anything that we're doing, feel free to add a comment, give us a question, check out what's going on. We got a lot of great events and a lot of great happenings going on. We're trying our best to get that to continue to grow. And if you have press, send it to news@inlandempire.us. If you're on Twitter, follow us at Twitter/InlandEmpireUS. If you're on Facebook, sorry, we're not there anymore. And if you want to know more about marketing, find us at RedFusion Media. Again, my name is Jon Burgess, and I hope you have a great weekend.